Alright, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is Doodle Review coming through with a new album to, just listen to and give you my thoughts on whether I like it or not, really. Today, back on an indie rock tip with the latest from the Vaccines. So, it's interesting to me that the term landfill indie started getting bandied around a few years ago to describe, the surging UK guitar rock from that 2006 to 2010 era, as if we were musing on some long past fad, when in fact the ultimate landfill indie band was just rising. The STIG of the dump of indie, if you will, Vaccines. Story of how the Vaccines arose to success in 2010 reads like a teenage fantasy, a made-for-TV movie cliche. Demo uploaded just on a whim, picked up by Radio 1, magazines touting the band as ushering in a new era of guitar music, celebrities in the audience of their first show, with people being turned away at the door for overcrowding. It's actually pretty much play for play the come up of the band in the rock fiction book Powder, and probably a dozen others. It's such a perfect narrative, you could almost be fooled into thinking it had been constructed by some heavily compensated PR company. Not the Vaccines though, they were doing it proper grassroots style, slumming it in the mean streets of Chelsea with other battle-tested underground heroes like Mumford and Sons. Anyway, through sheer grit and determination, wads and wads of grit, stacks and stacks of determination, and absolutely no outside help at all, the band rose to become a pretty big draw in the UK through 2010 and 11. Alright, setting aside the catty digs though, to be fair, the band had some pretty strong radio hits on them, Wrecking Bar, If You Wanna, and Post Breakup Sex. Yeah, they're hits. They're also vapid, soulless, lowest common denominator tracks, somehow managing to gentrify what was already gentrified, sucking anything raw and interesting from the indie landfill scene that they somehow managed to avoid the ridicule of, like some sort of private equity Death Eater of the music industry. But, if you want to come back, it's alright. What are you going to do? It's catchy. So seemingly, on the strength of that, because we know Spotify royalties are known to pay out hella good, the Vaccines are still knocking about. And believe it or not, Pick Up Full of Pink Carnations is now their 6th album. And they might not have written a song anyone can remember in the last 13 years, but they are keeping up with the kids, creating their own TikTok called How to Write a Song Like the Vaccines in 30 Seconds. Except it's not a TikTok, it's a song, and it's on this album, and it's called Heartbreak Kid. It's like step 1, clipped driving bass line, check. Step 2, reverb guitar stabs, check. Step 3, slow it down for 8 to 16 bars after the verse, check. And then step 4, loud, bellowed vocal chorus, check. You know what though, Heartbreak Kid and Sometimes I Swear, they do the same thing as their older hits, right? You can sing them, they're catchy, so I suppose hats off. But, they might be able to do it so well because it has something to do with the fact that Justin Young has a well-beaten formula for a catchy chorus. Find one note and bellow the whole fucking thing all the way through it with absolutely zero variation, like Morse code written just for Radio X. And I guess it works for them, but one thing I can't quite get my head around is how anyone in the band or in the producer's seat listened to this album and thought, yeah, this is sounding great, let's bounce it. Because this album sounds like shite. The whole thing has this faux boutique crunch to it, which I understand the draw to try and create, but the execution sounds like their creative exploration went about as far as perusing the GarageBand presets and literally selecting, boutique crunch from the drop down. There's a high frequency fizz to everything with absolutely no depth. It sounds like the audio equivalent of cooking a bad barbecue, absolutely burnt to a crisp on the outside and frozen solid in the middle. Sonics aside, the album does see the band attempt a bit of a new wave power pop direction, and genuinely I think the song Love to Walk Away demonstrates that this could be a good direction for the group. Don't get me wrong, it has all the hallmarks of the things I dislike about this album and this band, but there's a depth to this one I don't hear in the other songs, a more interesting arrangement and some robotic kind of sounding guitars that do work, to be fair. And supposedly this was the first song recorded and was the template for the rest of the album, but for a band that has literally written 3 or 4 of the same song on this very record, ironically it looks like they struggled with the concept of following a template, because it's the best song on the record and nothing else comes close to it. This is a 32-minute album, and by the time we get towards the end, I've never felt more exhausted by mediocrity. This record is a fatiguing listen as it is before you get to the tacky dross of tracks like The Dreamer, which may as well be like that I'll Be Riding Shotgun song from George Formby or whatever his fucking name is. And by the time we get to Anonymous in Los Feliz, I feel like I'm in some sort of purgatory being served non-stop deja vu in schlocky indie rock form. This is a 2.8 with a few points of mind-numbingly catchy choruses and, you know, just for baking an entertainingly bad record that I had fun writing a review for. But time for me to knock it on the head anyway. What do you think? Obviously, if you're a Vaccines fan, probably have thoughts. But yeah, hit me with them. I'd be interested to hear your take. I'm not against bad, catchy music, and some of this is that, but I just could not be listening to this album anymore. So yeah, subscribe, share some thoughts, show some love, or just have some abuse in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, mate. Bye.